See, I told you it wouldn't be long till you saw me again. Now, some of you may or may not, or might not care about the fact that I mentioned this was a sponsored episode. So it's going to be a massive shout out today, actually, to my mate Dean Bufton, who, after watching the last episode of me trying to get my brake calipers unseized, basically messaged me and said, whether you like it or not, effectively, I'm sending you a caliper refurb kit for you to do your calipers so you can actually get it done properly. So that little box you saw me stick up on the group the other day, alluding to the fact that it was sponsored, it means it actually is, because I probably wasn't going to bother doing this yet. But good old Dean, thank you so much, mate, has sent me literally a full kit. So I've got new calipers, new seals, and while I'm at it, I'm going to redo the brake fluid. I may or may not, depending on how I feel over the next couple of days, I might actually buy the braided brake lines as well and do it while I'm at it. And I'm going to paint the calipers, probably black. No offence to anyone, not a massive fan of coloured painted calipers. So I'll paint those black while I'm at it. And then we'll have fresh brakes. So it's a massive win. So I'll take you through it. I've literally never refurbished a pair of calipers in my life. I've asked a few questions. It seems fairly straightforward. So I'm just going to take my time and we'll just take it from one step as we go. But otherwise, let's dive straight in. Now, the risk of stealing Mighty Car Mod's favourite line. First step, jack up your car. Someone had to say it. I did post up on Instagram about this the other day, but Von House, I'm telling you, for a cheap, well, so it's like 90 quid for this impact gun. It's perfect. And you're, yes, all right, a Milwaukee one or Ryobi or something like that. You may well get a bit more out of it, but for the money, get one of these bad boys. Well, there you go, the wheel off. Little safety tip for you, just chuck your wheels under there, just some extra for it to fall on should the axle stands fail. But otherwise, all you need to do now is pretty much the same when you change the brake pads. I'm just going to lever this, take the little pin out underneath here, lever this up, take the brake pads out, put them somewhere safe. And there is one bolt, I believe, that actually holds the carrier on and stuff as well. Now, obviously, really, this is the only bit that I have to refurb. But I thought, while I'm at it, I'm going to take the actual carrier bit off itself as well, and then I'll paint that up. Once I actually get this up, then I'll explain the next step, which I'm hoping is going to be the one that's going to work out for me, because that could be where the biggest problem is going to lie. Oh, there you go, and I flip that up. As you will see, it's pretty grotty in there, and that's basically the cylinder in there that's going to be replaced with a nice shiny new one, and you can't really tell the difference, but I promise there is a black rubber seal around the edge of this. It's looking pretty ropey. It did actually come with a couple other little seals as well, which I can only assume is for down here, because they've got a couple of little rubber boots on there as well. But the main trick here is to actually get this cylinder to pop out of the actual caliper itself. Now, the tip I've been given by my mate Matt in the know is to basically pop them up like this, just hold them back. I'll probably put a little bungee strap or something on there, and then pump the brakes. I might put a little tub underneath in case the fluid goes everywhere. I mean, it should just pop it past this seal. I'm hoping it's going to at least do it on one of them. And then once it's done that, that should be, don't quote me on this, or my famous last words, the hardest part of the refurb. There you go, just a little bungee strap, just hold that back, and hopefully this piston's going to pop out without any trouble, so wish me luck. Yeah, there's definitely something going on, because that hasn't moved even a tiny bit. Yeah, let's see what the other side's doing. Oh goodness. Okay, let's come out a little bit. I mean, I'm going to pump a bit more, see if I can get a bit of pressure in it. Otherwise, I have no idea. Well, that didn't work. Yeah, I mean, basically, I've tried a couple of things. One of the suggestions was that I put one side of the brakes on, and when I pump the brake, effectively all the pressure then is going to one side, so it pushes the actual piston out on this side, at least on one of them. But it's not working, so these calipers are obviously absolutely toast. So let's crack on. I'll take the calipers off. Pretty easy job. It's only a couple of bolts to take that and the carriers off as well. Here we go, busting out the show spanners. Now, I will recommend these a lot, actually. These US Pro ones. I bought a set of these a little while ago, like the extra long handle ones, and they're really nice. Really nice. Never underestimate the benefit of a decent set of spanners. There we go. We get a little light on there, so if you can just see, just here, there's one bolt hole there. And there is one bolt hole there. So it's just two 17mm nuts, and the whole caliper comes off just like that. Now, it does look pretty bad, I have to be honest. You can see the problem there. So that's just the main carrier bit. So I'll be cleaning all this up and stuff there. But that is the result of me pumping the heck out of the brakes. that piston is nicely jammed in there. So I am genuinely hoping that we're going to be able to get that out. One small tip for you, you'll come to find when you actually come to take these brake hoses off, when you try and undo this, the hose is just going to keep trying to twist and it's impossible. So loosen it off and then twist the caliper instead, and then you'll just be able to undo it actually off of the hose. Obviously if you're replacing it anyway, which I probably should with my braided ones, just undo it at the top and then easy done. Right, two very ropey calipers. Now I'm going to give it a quick shot here. Sometimes a little bit of brute force and ignorance doesn't hurt too much. Now this one, actually, to be fair, so this is the passenger side one. This one actually did make a vague attempt to try and push out. So this one, I've just started cutting the seal off. I'm going to try my best just to pull that one out of there. So that one might be okay. This one, on the other hand, I mean, yeah. I mean, anyone's guess whether that is just completely seized in there or what. But, you know, we'll give it a shot. Come on then, let's get this on video, because you never know if I'm successful. I've done my gloves. If it goes well, then you'll see me be happy. If it doesn't go very well, then you won't. Let's have a little go. We'll try it on this first one anyway. I won't video the next one because I'm trying to keep this channel as PG as possible. Well mashed in there at the moment. Oh. Kaboom! That was actually, you may notice a certain amount of surprise in my voice there. That actually went a lot better than I was expecting. Oh, yeah, I probably should have saw that was going to happen. Let me tidy up. Hello everyone. So in short, my camera ran out and it was getting late in the night anyway, and I was kind of thought, well, do you know what, I just want to crack on with this caliper refurb. So I've actually done a little bit more, but I haven't caught it on camera, but thankfully it's all stuff that I can take you through now quickly. I have got them completely dismantled, so it's actually quite a relatively nice job. It was pretty easy. So these are both the calipers. I don't know if it makes too much difference, but I have tried to keep everything in its side, regardless whether it's size specific or not. As you saw last time, the pistons came out really easy. I said there's a little bit of pitting and stuff on the bottom of those, but nothing major. But the one thing I did need to get a little bit of advice on, so when you actually get the piston, and I'll give you an example of this. So this main outer seal here, which is actually, at least this is what's left of it, you'll see there, it's got like a hardened ring, like a metal ring, which is effectively what holds it into place. When you put that in there, it actually holds the rubber seal outer lip on there against the actual caliper itself. Sorry, the piston. And what you can see there, if I spin this round, when that's in, see that when there's all that grime and dirt there, you can't see this line very well at all. But what you really need to do, if I can find the one that I used a combination of this slightly bigger one and this tiny little screwdriver, and all I did was just pop it on the edge there and just gently tap it in a little bit just to get it away from the edge of the actual caliper itself, and then use the bigger one just to like bash it a lot flatter, which is what that is. And then all you have to do then is just get down to there, lever it out, and that is exactly the same with these other ends. So where the actual sort of caliper slider goes through, there is one of the little rubber boots on either end, which are like this. These were actually fine, but again, you know, it's apart now, so it didn't really make much difference not to, makes much sense not to replace them, but exactly the same deal. They sit in there like that. If anything, these are a little bit less obvious and easy to get to, because once that's in there, that lip is tiny, so you'll definitely need something small like that. Again, just gently, just tap that in until it starts to go. A couple of them just popped out once it got to a certain point, otherwise I just stuck that under there, boom, out you went. And all I've been doing, I do need to do a little bit more work cleaning these up, but at the moment it's just sort of combination of brake cleaner and WD-40 and stuff just to really get in there and get all the grime out. I used an old toothbrush and like a plastic tipped brush. I didn't want to use anything too crazy in there. I probably will make up some sort of cleaning solution and sort of make sure I've got it all out, but I noticed inside the actual bleed valve and the actual brake fluid feed, I suppose, it was looking a bit grotty in there. I don't really know what it was, but it wasn't looking particularly great, so I just sprayed WD-40 down through there with the actual straw attachment on it. But otherwise, I mean, that is really effectively, if I wasn't going to paint these, 99.5% of the way there. I mean, yes, they need a little bit more of a clean up just to be 100% sure, but otherwise it's going to be putting the new stuff back on there. So like I said to you before, this new kit is great because it comes with all the grease and stuff you need, new bleed nipples, which is good because the ones I have are looking, if I drop one, yeah, that one's actually all right. I think that one might have been replaced at some point, but the other one is really rusty on the other end. But you get new ones of those anyway. Then I said you get brand new seal and the new little tiny seals. The other one to mention actually is if I can find one. Ah, yeah, I forgot to say there's this like kind of O-ring seal that sits down right inside. If you can get in there, it's in that little groove just down there. Can you see it? So that would just push in. I can't really do this while looking through the camera. Into that little groove. Now that was a doddle to get out. That is literally just get a little screwdriver, try not to gouge any gash in there, and just literally just pop it out. Simple as that. And I get one of those with the kit as well. That's pretty much it. Now I've been advised, obviously, you put this one in first, just because obviously there's no chance you're going to get that in once the piston's in. Then drop the piston in. And I've been advised then to put the outer seal on after that. So you pop that in. I mean, again, I don't know how hard that's going to be to physically push it in there, but if it needs a light tap, just keep it sensible. I do need to double check. I mean, in my mind at least, the only part of this is going to need the actual grease will be the actual carrier sliders, because that looked like it was greased on the inside anyway. I don't imagine you'll put grease anywhere on the main piston or anything, because obviously it's going to contaminate the brake fluid. But I mean, I'm hoping that this bit's actually pretty straightforward. You underestimate and overachieve, because my caliper paint wasn't meant to turn up until Thursday, and it is Monday today, and it's blocked up. So here you go, lovely little bit of gold. I don't know whether it's going to come out that light or not. I'm kind of hoping once it's on that kind of dark metal that it comes out a little bit more bronze than that. But otherwise, I mean, I'm going to chuck it on there. If nothing else, it's going to make the calipers look a little bit cleaner and newer. So same with any kind of painting really. You don't really need me to tell you this, but it's all about the prep. So what I'm going to do is use some brake cleaner, give the calipers a proper wipe down to make sure there's no grease and stuff on there, and I'll dry them all down. But otherwise, it's pretty simple. Put a few coats on it. I won't go absolutely mental, but I'll put a couple on there. Now a little tip for you, especially when you're doing painting out in this kind of temperatures. I've actually had this sat in my sink in my kitchen, hygienic I know, in some fairly warm water. I don't like put boiling water in it, but fairly hot. I've left it in there for like literally like an hour, so the tin's nice and warm now, and that means that the actual paint will be quite thin, and you'll just get a much nicer spray coming out of it. And what I probably will do, if I can be patient enough, is I'll get all these cleaned up, sanded back, I'll get them all hung up and stuff, and I may well hang them in front of my infrared heater, not like right in front of it, but near it for, I don't know, half an hour or something, just to get a little bit of warmth in there. And then again, it should take to these a little bit better as well. Then there's no lacquer or anything to put on this set. It's all in one high temperature bad boy paint. So fingers crossed, the 75 or so reviews this got and gave it 4.5 stars out of 5 knew what they were talking about. Otherwise, I'm coming for you. Well, that's obviously not true. Let's crack on. Right, you know things are getting serious because I've got a hot beverage, or mostly hot beverage, I should say. Now, I'll be honest, this is the one I haven't cleaned. This is one I have cleaned. Now, I will say, at least on video, you can't really tell the difference, but I promise you, it will all be worth it in the long run. Now, the main thing when you're doing brake calipers is going to be in all these little nooks and crannies around here, where there's just that old like grime and old brake dust and that gets in there. I mean, I know that, you know, brake pads don't have asbestos and stuff in them now, but I mean, still try and be as careful as you can. I mean, I put quite a lot of brake cleaner and WD-40 and stuff on it, so it's quite wet when I was scraping all this off. And I just used either a little snapped off blade or something, just to like scrape all those little bits out there, and then just various brushes and stuff just to get it all out. But I mean, the better job you do now, the better this is going to look at the end, because nobody wants to spend all this time painting their calipers and then have it peeling off within 5 minutes of having it done, because you just look rubbish. So and then really the carrier was a doddle. Again, same method, just scraped it off, got the wire brush to it, cleaned it off. So I still need to give them a proper wipe down with the old brake cleaner, but I'll do that one after. But I'm going to do this one next. Let's not go too crazy. I mean, generally speaking, if this is any good, this stuff will stick to freaking anything. So otherwise, will I time lapse it? Yeah, why not? I might do a little time lapse of me actually spraying it. Then you can see my concentrating phase yet again. Right, that's those done. They're at least as clean as I'm ever going to get them with well, with my patience levels and stuff. But no, I'm pretty happy with that, actually, to be fair. Like I said, they never look 100% clean just because of like the metal and the coating and stuff, but that is good. I'm pretty confident there's no grease or anything dodgy on that. So if anything goes wrong now, you can blame me because I said it was all right. So I'm going to wash my hands up just to make sure I don't get loads of crud all over these again. Then I'm going to mask up these areas again and inside the pistons and a few other little bits. And then I'm going to find somewhere up on my roof, probably up in this side, put a couple of little screws in and just hang them down and hopefully spray them in a direction it's not going to get paint over everything. I've already started covering up the turbo, which is doing a great job of looking like some random antique furniture covered up because it's basically been sat here for just as long. But that's one down, 4 to go. Little tip though, try and stagger your heights, otherwise they'll all be bashing into each other. So I'll have one down here, one up there, one down there. Anyone would think I've done this kind of stuff before. And that's 4, hopefully securely tied up bits of caliper. Again, I've kept everything. I mean, obviously I know it'd be obvious if you got it all mixed up, but I've still just kept, left side to right and right side to their sides. Like I said, sometimes it just pays to be a bit diligent with this stuff, even if it probably doesn't really matter in the long run. Because like I said, you probably work it out in the end that you had stuff mixed up. But it just saves yourself the hassle. So I'm going to basically now just give these a quick whip over, a little guide coat, see how it seems to take. If it seems to basically go on all right, then happy days. I'll probably do a little bit more. I might turn the heater on now just for 10 minutes, just to put a bit of warmth in, like I said. Otherwise, don't forget, unless you want to get as high as a kite, which I don't suggest you do with solvents, open the door, wear a special mask. I did have a special mask, actually. That one, in fact. And those canisters are old as hell, so I'm not going to trust those. So I'll probably just open the door when I do it. It's pretty windy outside today, so there will be plenty of ventilation in here. So otherwise, like I said, I'm just going to go and trim these little bits of string off and stuff so they don't get too in the way. In the end, I kept this loop pretty big as well, just so it didn't, just do it, the more it pinched, the more it was sort of intruding on that metal work. So either way, wish me luck, and the guide coat will hopefully go all right. Now, as annoying as it is to have to shake this thing for as long as they say, don't skimp on it, just shake the hell out of it, because otherwise you'll end up getting a bad finish. What I'm also going to do is a little tip, little piece of card, put it behind there as you'll spray it. Also, you can't really see that one. And we'll do it behind it. That way, you're not going to get paint on everything else. So just most of the overspray will go on your card. So, well, that's the theory. Because as you've probably seen in my garage, I've got a lot of stuff packed into this little thing. Most of it probably worthless to anyone, but you don't want to get gold paint on it anyway. So let's have a stab at it, I guess. I'm going to open the door, so excuse the wind noise because it's absolutely awful out there today. Right, here we go. Okay, all right, that's not too bad. I think as a guide coat goes, hopefully I'm not going to get too many runs or anything unsightly, but otherwise, that looks like that's gone on pretty well. Yep, I'm happy with that. So I'll do the rest and then we'll come back in a minute once I've got a decent coat on. Now inevitably this isn't going to pick up very well on camera, but I was going to say, for a guide coat, you can see it's got like kind of silvery edge to it when it first goes on, but then as it starts to build up, you can just start seeing the goldenness coming through. But I think that's probably going to be quite a nice colour when it's done. Like I said, it wasn't meant to be a mad coat. You can already see how easy it is. Where was it? There's a couple of places it just looked like it wanted to run just a little bit. Actually, they seem to have levelled out a little bit now. So I'll give that a couple of minutes and I'll chuck another coat on there, but otherwise it's not proving particularly easy not to get paint on everything. So I would probably suggest you set up some kind of sheet or something around it, because I'm freaking out about the paint going everywhere at the moment. But yeah, whatever now. I've made my bed, so let's crack on. Right, let's look at the results after coat 2. Now, I'll probably say it probably looks a little bit better in the camera, but all in all, this stuff is covering pretty well. I'm going to say that the carriers, for sure, and I don't know whether it's just because they're a bit flatter. Well, I missed a little bit just inside there. I don't know if they're a little bit flatter, but it's definitely taken to those really well. Now, these, on the other hand, it just seems to be in the same place on both of them. Now, if you just see, there you go, if you catch the light, you see how it's kind of just pooling a little bit? Kind of those little dimples just in those areas. And it's doing it just a bit on the end. And it's doing it on this one as well, look. It's just a little bit where it's just not quite taking. The only way I could describe it is as you're spraying it on, it, yeah, it just seems to want to pull away from those few bits. Now, I don't know. Chances are, even though I clean the hell out of it, it might just be because it's really mottled kind of surface. Maybe there was just a little bit of contaminants in just those little bits. I don't know, but it's only 2 coats. I'll probably whack another couple of coats on there now. I mean, I've let it dry now for a while, so I might give it maybe a very light rough on those areas with like a Brillo pad or something, just to see whether maybe it helps to like get it to key to that a little bit. Otherwise, I mean, generally speaking, I mean, I'm never going to see them unless I'm doing stuff with the brakes. This is absolutely going to keep them in a bit better condition, so I'm not that bothered. It should be peachy anyway. So yeah, I'll chuck another couple of coats on and then yeah, call it a good one. It's the next evening and I'm saying we get these bad boys down because I did another 2 coats on them. I'm as happy as I'm ever going to be. I mean, they look 20 times better than they ever did, and that paint was actually decent. I think maybe if I just hadn't have had those couple of little contaminant problems, I think they actually would have done really good. I mean, the can of paint was like a tenner, something like that. So I'm gonna get these down and I'll whip the camera back out and then we'll have a quick look and then we'll start putting them back together, which will either be really, really easy and successful or an absolute nightmare, because I've been having a proper good run recently, which I shouldn't be saying that really because I'm gonna just jinx myself. So boom. No, I haven't unwrapped them or anything, but like I put them on that white background because it just shows up a bit better on the camera. But I mean, look, I mean, that is an absolute bone stock set of Fiat Cinquecento brakes. I mean, all right, maybe I don't want to big it up too much, but I mean, yes, they don't look like some high specs or anything like that. But I mean, first glance, you're going to look at them and go, those brakes are pretty decent. So with the green stuff pads and the Brembo disc and stuff, hopefully I'm going to be all right for now. I found the braided lines that I'm going to go for. They're actually not too expensive at all, but I thought, do you know what? I'll get these on, bleed the system out, put some new fluid and stuff in there, just see if it's sorted out my brake problem. Then if it has, mint, I'll drain the cheap fluid out, probably put the braided hoses and stuff on there and then put the decent fluid in. But then obviously if it ends up being the master cylinder screwed and I've got to spend some more money and stuff, then the braided lines could just wait for now. So but I'm going to peel all the stuff off this, grab out the first pack of the refurb stuff, and then we'll just start tackling it one bit at a time, and then fingers crossed it all goes back together exactly as I think it should, and nothing fights it too much. I did try not to get too much paint on those areas where something's got to go back in, like a bolt, all the sliders and stuff like that, so we should be all right. Oh, it's another day in paradise. It's absolutely smashing it down outside and it's currently trying to leak through my wall like it always does, but that's a job for future Ben to worry about, I think. I will say that my brake calipers now are finally as dry as they're ever going to be. I'll be honest, I don't want to be too hard on that paint because let's face it, it's hardly ideal weather and like temps and stuff to be painting this, but it did seem to take forever for it to be anything other than like mildly tacky. So the other one that I've done, so I will show you in a minute, here's one I prepared earlier. I've actually rebuilt one of the calipers now just so I could go through it, ask any questions I need to ask, stuff anything up I suppose that I need to stuff up, so I can actually show you how to do it properly. And then anything I picked up on the other one, I can just share that with you now. So I'll be honest, it doesn't look quite as gold as it did when I started, because for the reasons of the paint being slightly softer than I'd have liked when I started it. And obviously inadvertently you're going to get dirty hands as you're doing it in some manner or another. But there you go, one gold, completely bone stock brake caliper, all done. New seals, new main seal in there, look, lovely new shiny piston, new bleed nipple, bleed valve, call it whatever you want. And looking pretty good, got a little clip and stuff in there. Now what I am going to do, and I would suggest if you've never done this before, to get this done as well, is I actually need to run some old fuel and some old oil to my mate's garage, SPR Engineering, my mate Tom, and he's going to give him a little look over for me just to make sure that I don't kill myself the first chance I get. All I just wanted to make sure, the main one, because really these seals here, I mean, apart from stopping like dirt ingress, they're not massively important. Your brakes aren't going to stop working if they just leak a little bit, but it's this one. I just want to make sure that I've got this main this main seal for the piston seated in there properly, and it's not going to come back out. I will show you why, because it seems to be a nightmare to get it out, to get the old one out, but pretty easy to get the new one in, and I just kind of expect it to be a little bit more of a satisfying kind of click. But I'll turn the camera around best I can, and I'll take you through all the steps needed to put it back together. It is actually a lot simpler than you'd think, but it's easy to say that once you've done it once, because you know what works and what doesn't work. Minimal tools required, but what you do get in the pack, actually, I'll do it while I'm here. So you get 2 new seals for the caliper slider. You do actually get a new cover for the bleed nipple, and you get a new one in the pack as well, which is good. And you get the main seal, which, like I said to you before, when you remove it, is like a hardened ring around the outside, and then the seal itself, and then you get that's a little center seal that goes down inside. So not a lot of stuff. The main thing to bear in mind, again, you may know this already, you get one grease for the rubber. This is a rubber grease, and make sure you don't use any other grease that's not a rubber one, because it doesn't react well with the rubber, apparently. So you've got that one for actually greasing up that rubber ring to slide the piston in, and then the other one you get is actually just like more of a traditional grease, I guess, for the actual slider. So just put it on there, out to go now. Job done. That is it. The only tools I've used is this flathead screwdriver, this tiny screwdriver, a chuffing great hammer, a dead blow hammer actually, which is actually pretty handy, and I will explain why in a minute. These two. You will notice I haven't got my bobble hat on today, the famous bobble hat, because I can't freaking find it and my head's freezing, and I can't put the heater on because I realised that running that through a really long extension lead, like a wound one, wasn't a good idea, because the extension lead was getting really freaking hot. So I need to sort some wiring out for it. So at the moment, I'm a little bit on the cold side, so I need to try and dig out one of my other hats from somewhere, but that's sort of beside the point anyway. Yeah, let's do it. Right, I appreciate this is not the easiest angle, but I will try my best to move stuff over to the camera for you to see it. But the first things first, and the easiest bit to do, is to actually pop this little spring plate back in for the brakes. It's as easy as it looks. It really does. Just mind your fingers, don't put anything in there. I literally just leant it on the workbench, just pushed as hard as I could from the inside. I imagine you never want to get your finger in there because it freaking hurt. It can only go around one way, so as long as you've kept all the stuff together anyway, you shouldn't get it wrong. The next bit, and obviously this is something that's relatively obvious to say, I know, but one tip I did get is just inside, hopefully this shows up on the camera, just inside this lip here where you're going to put that seal, make absolutely sure that it isn't bumpy and rusty, or it's got like lots of little bits in there, because that seal, if that's not in there completely flat, it will be a nightmare to get the actual piston back in it. Other than that, this bit should be pretty easy. So first things first, you need this little seal here. This one's a doddle get in, so you don't have to worry about doing anything special to get this one in there. Just however you see fit. Just make sure that it is not in any way twisted or poking out anywhere weird. But once it's in there, we'll try look on the camera just to make sure I'm capturing it all right. So you'll see it's just sat inside that ring there. And like I said, you just have to make sure, just press it and make sure and just check that it doesn't look like it's sticking out anywhere weird and it's not twisted in there, which it isn't. Next thing you need is your shiny new piston. And like I said to you before, my old ones weren't actually that bad. I mean, this area here was really corroded and horrible, and obviously that's the bit that goes on the brake, on the actual brake pad itself. So I'll make sure I put plenty of copper grease on this anyway to, you know, stop it sticking and stuff in the future. But otherwise, this is where it starts to get annoyingly messy. You just need to take some of this red grease, so you'll know, and I don't know whether any other greases are red, but at least you'll know if this is a rubber grease because it's red. You haven't got to go freaking mental with this stuff, but just try and get a decent coating all around the inside of this rubber seal. Now I must admit, stupidly, when I actually opened this pack up the first time round, I only saw there was one pack of grease, and it was the other type, so I didn't actually try putting any grease on it. I just put a little bit of brake fluid on there just to try and get it through, and it would not go in for love nor money, so you do need it. As another little tip, again, just try and get a little bit on this lip, because it is such a tight fit, which obviously it needs to be. Like the tolerances obviously have to be pretty tight so it doesn't just leak oil everywhere, even with the seal. And I put a tiny little bit just on this little corner, because this is obviously, once it gets past this point, you're golden. It's just getting this little edge of the piston past the past that rubber seal. Once you've done that, you are good. Right, now what I did, and I'll be honest, you don't have to do this, but because the paint was so fresh and I was freaking out about stopping it being gold, I put a cloth down like that. I'm going to pop this bad boy in. And I will say, try your best. Oh, hang on a minute. I did this last time. Yeah, look, live action. Don't put that in until you've put the piston in, because you can't get it in there straight enough. So we'll go back. I'm going to take that out. Then you put the piston in, and you put that in afterwards. For God's sake, Benjamin. There you go. Like nothing had ever happened. So it's out now. So rewind that back. And just pop that in there. Now, you can get it in there as straight as you can, for obvious reasons. Because if you're trying to go in an angle, it is not going to be your friend. Oh. Now, you might think I sound surprised there, but the first one I did, in the end, I was just gearing up to tell you that I had to put it on there like that. I put this hammer handle just inside the piston, and I was hitting it with the dead blow hammer to get it in, because it would not get past that seal. And it took a couple of, like, you know, relatively decent hits. But that one slid in like a tree, so it's making me look like I actually know what I'm doing. So what I did learn, when you're actually going to put this next seal on, try and leave as much of this piston out as you can. Oh, hopefully without busting your hand up. Because what you want is to be able to put the seal over the top and get it to sit. Get the end of the seal, which I'll show you in a second, to sit inside this groove. I pushed it all the way in to start with, and it doesn't work. So I will just prise that out a little bit more without scratching my 80% good paint. There we go. Right, so now you've got the seal. Now, it will only go in one way. It only goes in one, like, sensible way, I guess. You'll see, hopefully on the camera, I'll have a little look. You just about see it. There's a little lip going all the way around the outside of there. Now, that is the top. So it has to go that way in, okay? And what you will see as well, look, is that is the actual lip of the rubber, oops, sorry. That is the actual lip of the rubber seal. And that's what's going to sit in that groove. So obviously, as the piston goes in and out, that just makes sure that it stays seated. So what I did do as well, not that I think you necessarily need it, but I did put a tiny bit of grease just round this inner lip, just to give it a fighting chance, because let's face it, with all this stuff being new, it doesn't necessarily want to play ball sometimes. So now this bit was actually pretty straightforward last time. Just have to do exactly what you expect. There you go. Right, now, before I put that any further, you'll see, if you just ease it down a little bit, like that, see, it just sort of, it just kind of mates up with that actual lip there. Look, you can see that's in nice. So now, when you push the piston in a little bit more, it gives you just enough give then to start pushing the seal in. And you'll see what I mean about how it's not actually that difficult to push the seal in, and I was expecting it to be properly tough to do it. Work a bit better, I think. And if you ever get stuck, there's nothing wrong with asking people. Like when I had that piston that didn't want to go in to start off with, I just took the time to message a mate that had done this before and said, should I have to hit this? Should I have to hit this really hard to get it to seat in there? And he said, no, not really. He said, so maybe take the seal back out and check it. It took all of 5 seconds to check that. There you go, this is starting to work now. There you go. We are nearly in, my friends. If you're wondering why I'm using this little spanner, it's because actually it's got quite a round end, and it feels like it won't completely shaft it if it slips. Germany. Right, now this is the reason why I want to get my mate Tom to check over that I've done this properly, because I remember when I took the first seal out, I remember that it was just like you could barely see it. Like it was so low in there, you really couldn't even tell there was a seal in it. I guess these, aftermarket build kit, it's probably normal, but I just want to make sure that I've actually, got it in there properly and it's not going to kill me. But let's assume for now, the Ben Crook knows what he's doing and I've got that in there just fine. The next bit's nice and easy, so I will probably put this back in now, just to show you. So you'll know it's the right way around or not, because this little lip here, if you put it the wrong way around, sits inside the piston, and obviously that's no good for anyone. Now I'm going to stop the video here because the piece of information I'm about to share with you is actually wrong, and I realised this when it came to fitting the calipers, and the brake pads wouldn't fit. So this retaining clip, I had it round the wrong way, so I'm going to try and show you it best I can now, because obviously I've already fitted it, and I will put a photo up as well. So actually what happens, if you look, if you see this little springy clip bit here, now I thought it can't possibly go this way around because that will stick into the actual piston, but it doesn't. It actually comes on the outside. So what you have to do is effectively just push this little clip up on the outside and then push it in like you normally would. I will stick up a picture as well, just so you've got another idea. But otherwise, yeah, got it wrong. It seemed like the most obvious way to put it, and it obviously wasn't. Again, if you do it wrong, you will get to the same point I did, and you realise your calipers don't actually push over to your brake pads because it stops it, so no harm, no foul. But back to the video, I promise everything else is, as best of my knowledge, correct. Come on. Every time I do that, I'm always like, oh God, if that hit my finger, that would really be a terrible moment. Right, so that's most of the big bit done. So you flip this bad boy over, and obviously now is actually getting that carrier to go in there. So obviously as you press your brakes, it's only a one-sided piston. So all it does, it just pulls the other side of the brake pad over to the disc as the piston goes. So obviously it needs to slide up and down on there. So it's important that it does so freely. So what do we need now? Right, now this, I will be honest with you, was annoying last time. I've got to be honest. One of these is a doddle and one of them isn't. And I'll be honest as well, these are actually a little bit of a pain to actually push in, because this little lip here really does need to like click home. And it didn't really like doing it last time. So one thing to bear in mind is you effectively have these seals go like that. One facing out, the other one facing out. Now this one is actually pretty easy, because once the bar goes through, you just push it over the top of the bar, happy days. This one though was a little bit of a fiddly pain in the butt last time, because it's effectively going the wrong way. So I will show you what I mean. Because one, you have to get that small end over the end of that and then slide it all the way down to this end to click in to this tiny, focus, this tiny little lip here. Now what I had a problem with, and I probably will have the same problem now, is every time you tried to push it down, this thing kept going in on itself, and it's freaking annoying. But we'll give it our best shot. Rubber, oh, actually no, not rubber grease this time. Sorry. This one, silicone grease time. Now this is when it started getting a little bit annoying, because there's nothing worse than getting silicone grease on your hands and on the thing that you're trying to build, only to then have to try and grip it really tight, and your hands are sliding all over the freaking place. But right, here we go. Now I'm hoping, I've had a trial run at this, so this may well go slightly better than it did the first time. Now one trick I did find was if you just fold it down like this, oh sorry, I'll get on the camera, fold it like flat, so then when you like push it over the top, it should hopefully work. Now am I going to get this on camera? All right, here we go. Do you know what, let's have a little zoom. We don't zoom very often, do we? Look at that. There's Steven Spielberg worthy zoom in there. So the hope is, with my weeny little screwdriver, just put most of it over and then just leave the last little bit. And it actually worked pretty well last time. So hopefully it will work in much the same way. Now I will be honest, I've lost the screwdriver that I was doing this with. I actually had one that was perfect, little flat head, just what I needed to get this to work. And I lost it. Don't ask me how I lost it, because I was only using it yesterday. And hopefully you appreciate me doing this real time. and you're not thinking, sweet Jesus, Benjamin, could you not have just done a here's one I prepared earlier? Well, I thought, well, do you know what? I'm sick of people saying, oh, it's easy, this job. Just had to do that, I did that, and that was easy, and that's nice. You think, well, that's lovely, but if I didn't see it, I don't believe it. I don't believe it was easy. So I'm just going to show you how you can actually build this. And don't get me wrong, I have almost certainly, at some point, and I'll continue to do so, edit this video down to cut out all the stuff that's completely, absolutely irrelevant. But that is not to say, and that is purely, and that is not to say it's because I'm trying to show that I'm better at it than I am. It's purely because otherwise my videos would end up being about 40 minutes long. There you go. So your main trick there is that you just want to try and get it to go. Now what you can see there, see how it's like bulging out a little bit here? That is because it's effectively folded on itself, and this was the bit that took a bit of time to get it out last time because you want it to be smooth and flat out. But I think if you put it all the way down, there you go. You just push it all the way down to the end. Just make sure that when you pull on it, that little end lip, make sure when you pull on this, that little lip just folds back out again. But that is seated lovely. So now I will zoom us back out. Let's see if we can do this next bit. Now this is pretty easy. You can't really get this bit wrong because you've already greased up. We'll put a little bit more on there. I mean, at least in this instance, you can't really go too mad, I guess. I mean, you got to face it, these brakes are, you know, you hope, going to do quite a few thousand miles before they ever need doing again, so it doesn't hurt to do it. So just slide that bad boy in there. Now this is where it gets annoying, because you now have to get that little seal to click into there, which with the other one was easy. This one isn't, because every time you press one side, the other side pops out, and then when you press that one, that side pops out. I tried everything, and in the end, I had to suck it up a little bit with my gold paint. And those two pairs of pliers I showed you, I put one on one side, one on the other, and just pressed them gently together. So we'll give that another shot. See if it works. It's not ideal. I don't really want to do it because I spent ages painting these. And I will say already, I've already marked these a hell of a lot less than I did the first ones. That driver's side one got marked quite a lot more because, quite frankly, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. So I ended up flapping about doing stuff on it a lot longer than I liked. So the trick with this is just getting it into a position that it doesn't move too much. So I add that one on there and that one on there, and like I said, again, take your time, don't just squeeze the hell out of this and expect it just to go in, not a problem. See that straight away it did exactly what I said it did last time, and it one side went in and the other side didn't. Happy days. And I guess really you could argue, and I actually had the offer for someone to build these for me. I mean, my mate Matt actually said he would do it, but you know, this whole project's taken me as long as it has because I've done stuff on my own. Like, I've asked a lot of help. Like, Matt basically told me how to do this in the end. But it means I know how to do it now. So if I ever get another set of brakes and they're a bit knackered, I'm not going to be as worried about it because within reason, I've been there and I've done it and I know they're sorted. And I said I will get them checked, and that's probably just as much effort because I still got to drive halfway across town to go get it done. But have a go, people. I mean, like, all right, yes. I was about to say it's only so bad it can go, but if my brakes don't work, then it can obviously go very, very bad, especially because it's going in my turbo one. But let's not think about that, eh? And hopefully, you're not getting too much glare off my fat head while I'm doing this, but that's just unfortunate, I'm afraid. Now, it is important if you use my method to go as close to the very edge as you can, because don't forget that that is a rubber seal. So if you go pinching it with a pair of pliers, but that's pretty much it. There you go. And as it slides in and out, that little seal stops all the dirt getting in there. Now this next one was actually a lot easier because all you're doing is pushing it straight over the top like that. So all you need to do is just get this end over to actually clip in And that's as easy as it sounds. Now all I did last time was just put a little screwdriver in and just pop it around like that. Job is a good one. The only big, again, the only problem you've got is now you've got a seal on that side, and obviously you don't want to be putting the pliers on, pushing too hard on it, because then you're going to pinch this seal. So this is one that took me a little bit more fiddling last time to try and get it right. But I'm hoping the gift of having done it once means I'm a little bit more on the ball. Now, I will be genuinely open for someone to tell me that there is actually a proper way of doing this, because if I ever do them again, I am more than open to saying, okay, cool, I did it wrong. I will definitely do it that way next time because it's easier. I mean, if there's a special tool you buy, or actually this is just how you do it, cool. But sat here in my garage on my own, this is what I came up with. Come on. The trick, it doesn't help that my pliers are not ideal for this, because these big ones here are perfect and these little ones are, come on, do this to me. Now you can see why I said I ended up making my other caliper not quite as tidy as it was when I finished. I was buzzing how nice they looked, all shiny gold, and then I had to put them back together, and now they're not quite so shiny and not quite so gold. Let's not worry about it. You know, lose sleep over your calipers not quite being gold enough, and your priorities in life are probably slightly skewed. Right now we are pretty much there, I think. I bet when you tuned into this channel you thought to yourself, what old Ben is up to? I bet you never quite thought you'd get to see quite so much at the top of my head. Do you know what? I might just edit this down and make it look like I did it in 35 seconds. And be like, boom, Ben Crook is a mechanical freaking genius. I wouldn't do that to you. I want you to know that I'm not a mechanical genius. I mean, I'd like to think I'm pretty handy with a set of spanners. I'd also like to think I've learned a lot since doing this, since I reckon probably, what, 15 I got my first car. I got a classic Mini when I was 15, my poor old dad, and literally I think for about a year and a half up to that point I was like, I want to buy a Mini, I want to buy a Mini, I want to buy a Mini, can I buy a Mini yet? I really want to buy a Mini. And I think he's hoping that the phase would wear off. Then he made a fatal mistake, and he moved house, and me and him moved into a little flat that had a garage, which was not his best move, I have to be honest with you. And this was back when classic Minis were cheap. So I bought my first Mini, Austin Mini, £390 I paid for that car. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing, and I've been learning ever since. That's all you can do, people. If you're 18, just starting out, or you're 50 and you've decided to start doing this stuff on your own, never be afraid to learn how you're doing. Don't be afraid to tell people you don't know what you're doing, because anyone out there that's critical of it, it's like, oh, I can't believe you don't know that. They're forgetting that they didn't know this stuff once either. So, here we go, people. Assuming that's all gone right. Boom. One caliper. Now, the only bit missing now is your new little bleed valve. Now, I did actually get a slightly different cover for this, and I bloody dropped it. So now it's on the floor somewhere. I don't know, which way round does this go? Oh yeah. And he fell at the last hurdle then, couldn't he work out which way round to do the bleed valve, bleed nipple. Right, where have we gone? Like I said, I did try and get as little paint as possible into these, even though it doesn't really matter too much. If any of you that care, it is a 8mm boom. And there you go. That is two absolutely bone stock calipers, but fully refreshed and painted in a slightly more resplendent gold. Now I'm going to say that was probably, really, genuinely, I think if you just cracked on and just did it, you could probably do that in 2 or 3 hours, like a full rebuild, the whole lot. I mean, the paint, it was purely because that paint just took so long to dry. I really don't know what it was. I don't know if it was my prep, I put it on a bit too thick, the weather, it could have been a combination of all those things. But either way, it was, I think, £38 for the rebuild kit. And again, massive thanks to Dean for that, because he paid for the whole thing. It was £10 for the caliper paint. And that's it. That was it. I already had the brake pads and the discs and everything are already on there. So you're looking at like 45, 50 quid. And bearing in mind, like a new caliper is like £45 anyway. So you get both sides done and you can paint them whatever colour you want. I will say, yes, maybe spend a little bit more on the paint. Get one that's got, you know, I mean, again, I don't want to cuss that down because it might be a good brand, but just make sure you get a good one because, I mean, I don't know how long that's going to last, but we'll see. So what I'm going to do, I won't bolt them onto the car yet. I'll go get them checked. And then as long as he says they're all good, we'll bolt them up and we'll get the wheels back on and then we are good to go. We can test it out. I will say, just one last little thing before I go. I've sent my tune off to my mate Claudio and he said it was a little bit of a nightmare actually. He had quite a lot of things that were completely all over the place on it. So he's gone through the whole thing. He's tweaked like quite a lot of it by the sounds of it, and I think he's used like a panda mapping tables essentially in the hope that it will actually be a little bit easier when it's off boost. It's basically just going to run like a normal panda, so hopefully it will actually start. So I do need to get the laptop out and load that new tune and see what happens, but I did want to get the brakes stuff on first, just so you know, just so it's all done. But otherwise, that's pretty much it. I mean, that might have been a slightly long-winded way of showing you how to do all my brakes and everything, but do you know what? I just wanted to try and take you through all of it. And I thought to myself, I can edit out as much of this as I need to. Now, anyone who hasn't seen it, I did release a video, well, in the last few days. I don't know when I'm going to put this one out. Launching my new project. So go and take a look. I will try and figure out some way of putting it in the video. If not, it'll be in the comments. Definitely go check it out because it's going to be really interesting. Other than that, thank you so much for stopping by. I'm hoping that the progress and videos will be coming thick and fast now because there's plenty to be getting on with. The new project, I'm hoping, because I'm pretty excited about it, it's going to keep on pinging up new videos for that. The turbo is cracking along very nicely actually. So we'll just keep on trucking with it and see how we get on. But thanks a lot for stopping by. Thanks again for all the comments. I got plenty of comments on the new video. Keep them coming. I'm happy to always hear if I'm doing something wrong or doing something right, or you want to see something new. But until the next time, I will see you then.